Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Angel from Simply Angel Tia. In this video we are working on this beautiful top that you see on me here, and as you can see, it's simple. It's meant to be something that you can wear in the summer, winter, any kind of season, but make sure you use the right wool depending on the season that you're making your top for. If you're looking to make it for the summer, make sure you use wool or yarn that is appropriate for summer clothing. But yeah, very simple, kind of like off the shoulder type of top. So make sure you are making your tops to mate based on the measurements. I work by telling you guys how to measure to fit, instead of telling you guys for an extra small do this many rows, for a small do this, for medium do this, for da da da. I don't do it like that. I just like to measure, show you guys how to measure to fit your top. That way anybody can make it to fit them. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you guys what I'm using, the materials and things like that. And so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, before we get started, I'm going to show you all the materials that we're using for this project. And as you can see, I'm using a yarn that I have frogged. So I am, again, like I said previously, I am going through a phase where I am frogging my old projects to be able to make the yarn to do other projects. So this is one of these projects. So for that reason, I don't have the label, I don't have all the details, but I would look it up in the previous videos and I will make sure I have the information about this yarn in the section below, in the description section below. Okay, so this is what we're using. This yarn comes like this. It has all of these colors kind of already preset like this. And as you can see, I believe this is a lightweight number 3, but again, check the description box, it will tell you all of that. This is all I have, but I'm hoping that for this top that I'm making, this is gonna be enough. But yeah, that's what we're using here. Okay, for crochet hook size, I'm using a 4.25 millimeter crochet hook, which is G6 US. I have a darning needle or threading needle to join my panels. I have my pens here, which I'm going to be using as stitch markers. I just prefer them a lot more than the traditional stitch markers for crocheting. And then I have my scissors to cut my yarn and a tape measure to determine the sizes. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, my lovelies, so to get this project started, the first thing that you will need to do is grab your tape measure, and you want to be able to determine how long you want the bottom part of this top. As you can see in the photos, we have the kind of like a wide band that goes around our waist area. And then you will determine that by measuring how long you want that part to be. Do you want it to be 5 inches? Do you want it to be 7 inches, 8 inches, whatever you want it to be. Okay, so for me, I am going to do a chain of about 30 chains, and I'm aiming for about 5 to 6 inches of that to be the part that is the band. So, and I can always increase if I want to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure I leave a tail hanging to be able to join the two sides later. So I'm going to start by doing a slip knot. This is how I do my slip knot here, just like this. Okay, and then I will start by doing a chain of 30. Let's see where that takes me. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. So this is my chain of 30 here. So we will measure that to see if it gets me what I want. So I will put the tape measure here. So I get about 6.5 inches. That's not bad at all. It will probably shrink up to about 6. But yeah, I'm okay with that. So chain of 30 is what we're gonna go with. But because I really like even stitches, I'm going to add a chain 1 so that at the end I have 30 stitches I'm working with, because we're gonna skip that working chain, which is the 31st chain. Okay, so we're gonna skip that, and in the next stitch right here, we're gonna go in the back and grab this back loop right here, to work on the next stitch. So I'm gonna yarn over, flip my work, and grab the back stitch of that first stitch, and then do a half double crochet like that. Then yarn over, go into the back of that next stitch and complete a half double crochet. Okay. Oops. And then yarn over, go into the back, and then grab the back loop of that chain and complete a half double crochet. Okay, so I'm gonna do this pretty much until I get to the end of the chain, and at the end I will end up with 30 stitches. 30 stitches is what I will have for this part of the project throughout until I finish this bottom part of our top. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue to do my half double crochets in the back of the foundation chain. If you prefer to do it just like by going through the first loop, go ahead and do that, but I find that this creates, like as you can see, there's these V stitches or V shapes here. It makes it so that it looks the same in the bottom when you do the back, when you work your first stitches in the back of the chain. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing this all the way to the end of the chain, and then I will come back to show you how to do the next row. The next row will be your repeat row for the rest of this part of the project, and then we're gonna change the stitches when we work on the next part of it. Okay, so go ahead and finish this, and I'll see you guys in a second. Okay, my lovelies, so I have finished my first row here, and it's just a simple row of half double crochets along our foundation chain. And so let me just make sure I zoom in a little bit here. So for the next row, we're going to pretty much do the half double crochets, but we're gonna work in the back loop. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do here is do a chain of one. This chain of one does not count as a stitch, and then you're gonna turn your work. And so in that very first stitch, there's this V shape right here. We're going to grab this back loop to complete our half double crochet. So I'm gonna yarn over, go into the back of that first stitch like this, and complete my half double crochet, and then yarn over, go into the next, grab the back and complete a half double crochet, and then yarn over, go into the back, complete a half double crochet, and then I just pretty much repeat this all along the 30 chains that we have, except for the final row. So I'll do 29 in the back loop, and then the 30th I'm gonna go through both loops. Okay, so this is just a preference of mine, so you don't have to do the same, but that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, and you just do your half double crochets in the back loop all the way until you get to the end. Okay, so this is the repeat row because this is what you're gonna do on every single row until we finish going around the waist. So this is what you're gonna do, is you're gonna measure the circumference of your waist, and then you're gonna work this until we get to that number, and you're gonna want to make sure you stretch this part a little bit to get to that number, because we want it to be a little bit on the huggy side for this part. So it's gonna hug you a little bit, it's gonna be a little bit kind of tight-ish. Okay, and that's what we're gonna do here, is work on this until we get to that circumference of your waist. I'm just going here so I can show you how to go through both loops at the end. Again, for those of you who are fans of the channel Simply Angel Tia, you will notice that when I do these kind of things, I literally go through both loops. I may have done one project out of like 100, 300, 400 videos. I may have done one project where I go through one loop for the final stitch, but this is just a preference of mine. Okay, so I'm taking you there so I can show you how to do that. For those of you who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please go ahead and do that. It will support me, it will support the channel, so that I can continue to make these free videos for you guys. Okay, and make sure you like, comment, and share as well. All right, so this is my second last stitch, and then for my final stitch, which is this stitch right here, I'm gonna go ahead and go through both loops. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and grab both loops, these two loops here, and then I'll complete my half double crochet. Okay, and then chain 1, and make sure you always do chain 1 before you turn, and that chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so you go and do your half double crochet in the very first stitch like this, and then in the next stitch and in the next stitch, and you just continue to do this until the end, and on the final one you go through both loops. Okay, so go ahead and continue working on your project. Here on this part of the project is simply half double crochets in the back loop until you have the length or the circumference of your waist. So what I mean by that is you put your tape measure around your waist. Normally what I do is just around my belly button, and you just loop it around, and you decide what that is, whatever that is. If it's 26 inches, 27, 30, for me it's 32 inches, about 32 inches. I'm gonna want to make sure this goes around my waist, and it's gonna end up measuring this. Okay, and again, as you work on your work, you can actually stretch it like this, and make sure you can stretch it when you put it around your waist. You don't even actually have to measure it. What you can do is, as you work on your work, if it's for you, keep putting it around from the back, and then just stretch it around like this to see how it comes around. Obviously, if you're making it for someone else, then make sure you have the measurements, and make sure you have the number of inches that they want, and make sure you incorporate any looseness if they want a little bit looseness to go along with it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue working on this, and when I have the size that I want, I'm gonna come back to the video, and I'm gonna then show you guys what to do for the next part of the project. Okay, I will see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed the length that I wanted here for my band, which is pretty much like the bottom part of this top. And as you can see, look at how the colors are changing, guys. I love this. I love this particular color, but I love how the changes also happen. They're very kind of like what do you call these art, contemporary type of stuff. Anyways, so I have about 76 rows that I've completed here, but more importantly, it is the length that I wanted. So if I grab my measuring tape here, let me see. It's not gonna quite fit all of it in the camera, but we will try to make sure we see. Okay, so if I put my tape, and I always measure in inches, I have about 23.5 inches. Okay, so I have my one at the end here, and then if I move it to the other side so you can see, I have about almost 24 inches. Okay, we'll call it probably 24. Okay, and so that is pretty much what I want to go around my waist. At 24, it doesn't go quite around my waist, but that is okay because it stretches. Look at how stretchy this is. Look at this. Like, this is so stretchy. So now when I put this around my waist, it's gonna be a little bit snugged in this section, but it's gonna fit. Okay, so the 24 inches is not obviously my waist size, but because of the stretchiness, it kind of gets to the size that is comfortable for me. Okay, now with that done, we're gonna join the two sides. So with the string that we had left hanging at the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and just join our work along the both sides there, and I'm gonna grab my stitch marker here, and then when we do that, we will begin the body of the top. Okay, and that's gonna be easy. This is a very simple tutorial. Okay, so I have the string here, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go into that very first stitch, as you will see here, and then pull that through like that. And then I'll just go into that one more time to make sure that it's nice and steady. Okay, and then for joining the rest of it, I am going to grab one of the stitches, line it up to the other side. So I grab the inside loop, and then I grab the outside loop on the other side. Okay, and then I bring that through, and then I'll grab the inside loop here and the outside on the other side, and then bring that through. And as you can see, I'm pulling, but I'm not pulling too hard that it wrinkles up my work. I'm pulling it with enough intensity that it still kind of stays loose, but at the same time, it's not hanging extremely loose. Okay, and then I'll just go ahead and join these all the way across here until I get to the end. And since we did the exact number of stitches, it's gonna line up perfectly to the end. And then when we have that done, we can go ahead and begin the rest of the top. Okay, so go ahead and join and then come back when you have gone to the end. Okay, my lovely, so I just reached the end here. So as you can see, I have gone into this. I have just the final one, and in the final one, just like we did at the beginning, we're gonna go through both loops just like this. Okay, then we're gonna bring that through, and then I'll go through that one more time just like I did on the other side, just to kind of match it up. And then I'll go into it one more time, but the second time I'm gonna take this loop here and bring it through around like that. Okay, and then bring it through, and that kind of just does it like as if I did a slip knot, okay, or slip stitch or whatever you want to call that. Okay, and then I remove my darning needle, and then now I have it joined, and this is where we joined right here along this line. Here is where we joined, very nice and invisible almost. Okay, now with that done, we're going to create around, we're going to work our stitches around, and because we didn't disconnect the working yarn, because we had the string that we had left hanging at the beginning, we didn't have to distract the working yarn. We just pretty much go right into using that and picking up where we left off. Okay, and so here I'm just going to bring my crochet hook. I hope you can see this properly. I don't know why I feel like it's blurry. Let me just fix that here. Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe we should just leave it like this. Okay, and so what I'm gonna do here then is I'm gonna do a chain of 2. Okay, and as you can see, I'm just gonna go that this chain of 2 counts as a stitch that goes with that. So in this stitch right here, I'm going to work a double crochet. Okay, and then I'm going to yarn over, go into the next space and do a double crochet, and then into the next space right here, complete a double crochet. And then I'm gonna go into the next space right here, complete a double crochet. And as you can see, I'm not saying go into this stitch or that stitch. I don't have stitches to work with at this moment, so I am just pretty much working into the next gap that I can find, but without making it my stitches too close to each other, but also without making them too far away from each other. Okay, so I just pretty much work my stitches like this. Okay, so as you can see, my double crochet stitches look like that. As you can see here, this is a little bit gappy here. I could have probably gone a little bit there, but so is this one here. You're gonna have things that look like that, but it's not something that worries me too much. It doesn't bother me too much. If it bothers you, please go ahead and just kind of put a stitch where it's a little bit more closer to the other stitch on the left hand side, on the right hand side. Okay, so I will go ahead and continue working these double crochets around my work, and when I have completed this, I will come back to show you what to do for the next part. So by completed, I mean come all the way to here, then come back to the video and I can show you what to do for the next part. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, I've gone ahead and completed the first row of double crochet. As you can see, I just did a very simple double crochet rows around, and I came back to where we began here. So now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and start the next row with you. And to do that, we're going to be doing some increases because we want this section of our top to kind of flare out. Not too much, but not too less either. So I will show you how I'm gonna do that. You may have to increase more for yours if you want it to be a lot more flared out. And especially if you have a wider bust, you may wanna really go out. But for my size and for like a small bust like mine, I'm going to be increasing, but not too much, okay? So as you can see, I did my last double crochet right here. This is the chain 2 that I began the row with. So I'm gonna go right on top of that double crochet, chain 2, and I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch just to close this section like this, okay? And now I'm going to start the next row, which is the increase row, and I'm going to do a chain of 2, and I'm going to turn because we're gonna be working around and then around like this. So we're not doing a circle as we work on our job, okay? So now that I have that here, I'm actually going to go into this very next stitch right here. It's kind of almost counts as the same one as this, so I'm gonna call this my first increase. So I will do my first double crochet right there, making it 2 because my chain 2 here counts as a double crochet as well. And then I'm going to work in the next 10 stitches, and I'm going to do just regular double crochets, and then I will increase in the 11th stitch. So if you haven't kind of caught on that, I'm going to pretty much increase every 10 stitches. I'm going to do an increase, and an increase is going to be 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And I'm going to do that for every other row. Okay, so I'm not doing it on every single row. I'm going to do it on every other row. So I'm just going to make sure I have here. So these 2 doesn't count in the 10 that I'm doing individually, because this is an increase. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so I do my 10 individual double crochets like that, and then in the 11th I'm going to do an increase, which is 2 double crochets in the same stitch. So 1 and 2. So now I've increased twice. I've increased here and I've increased here. So, and then I will do the next 10 stitches individually. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so in the 11th I will do an increase, meaning I'm putting 2 double crochets into the same stitch, just like that. Okay, so you kind of get the idea here. Now again, like I said, I'm doing mine by increasing every 11th stitch. You could be doing it so that every 8 stitch you increase, every 7 stitch you increase, even every 5 stitches you increase. That will depend. So the frequent you increase, the frequent number of stitches you increase, the wider your work is gonna get almost right away. Okay, so just be aware, like if you want to increase it however you want to do it, you can increase every 5 stitches, every 7 stitches, every 8 stitches, every 10 stitches, whatever you want to do. Even you could do every 15 stitches. The more far apart your increase spots are, the less quickly your work is going to grow outwards. It's going to expand outwards. Okay, so I'm going to continue just alternating this. I'm going to do 10 stitches, increase in the 11th, 10 stitches, increase in the 11th. Okay, and the increase, remember, is going to be 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Now we don't know how many stitches we had here. For all we know, it's not going to be 10 it's not going to be I guess sets of 10. So because we don't know that, it's very possible we do our increase and then maybe you have just 3 stitches to go. So what you will do is just work your stitches until you have a few to go, and then come back and I will kind of explain how we work around the fact that maybe you don't have exactly the even number of stitches at the end to match up how you've been working on the row. Okay, so come when you have a few stitches to go towards the end, which is right here, and then I'll show you how to finish that off, and then I'll show you how to do the next row. Okay, see you guys in a minute. Okay, my lovelies, so I just worked my increase rows around, and as you can see, it's starting to kind of build itself outwards. But more importantly, as you can see, I have come to almost the end here. So I have done my 10, so this was the last increase here. Okay, so as you can see, 2 double crochets in the same stitch. Then I did 10 stitches. So this 11th one will be where I would increase. Okay, and I will just put 2 double crochets into this stitch right here. Now as you can see, the first increase was right here. So but we only have 2 more stitches to go before we get to the end. So I will just end up doing the 2 stitches as usual. So 1 in each of the 2 stitches. Okay. So this is why I said we may not have the number of stitches that will correspond with the 10 batches that we're working with, but that's my workaround. You just kind of increase here and then you just keep your stitches going. And now I'm going to slip stitch on top of this chain 2 that we created to begin the row, and I'll just slip stitch like that. Okay, so this is my second row completed, but it's my first row of increase. And in the next stitch, in the next row, I'm not going to increase. So what I will do is I will just do my chain of 2. So 1, 2, this counts as a double crochet. I will turn my work, okay, and then I will do my double crochets around. So this chain 2 corresponds with this chain 2 from the previous row. So the next stitch I'm working on to is this stitch right here. So therefore I'm going into this stitch and doing my first double crochet like that. And then I will work my double crochets in every single stitch until I get to the end. So in this row, again, just to repeat, I don't do any increases. Now, does that mean you cannot? No, it doesn't mean that. If you want to increase your work on every row, you can. Just keep in mind, it's gonna really flare out drastically. And if that is the look you're going for, then go ahead and do that. But if you want the look that I'm doing, which is why you're following this tutorial, then what I do is I increase every other row. As you can see, it's already kind of gone out like that. Okay, so I will do my double crochets around until I come back to here. And then when I get back to this final stitch, I will come back to the video. I will show you how to begin the next row, which will be the increase row, and how we do that one. Okay, and then I will explain how much of these alternations you do, to what length you need based on your size, and then how to then come back and work the armholes that we're gonna need to section out. Okay, but for now, just finish this row and then come back at the end of it. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed my third row, and the third row is the non-increase row. So I just went around and completed a row of double crochet. Okay, so now I am towards the end here. So we're gonna start the row of the increases. And as you can see, we have these 2 stitches left. So I came here to show you guys there's still 2 stitches left here, or 1 stitch, sorry. This stitch here, the chain 2, it corresponds with this stitch. So we still have to go into here to complete that final stitch. Okay, so I'll go right into this stitch and complete a double crochet, and that corresponds with this stitch right here. Okay, so now that I've finished that, I'll go ahead and do a chain 2, a slip stitch on top of that chain 2. And then to begin the next row, I'm gonna do a chain of 2, which counts as a double crochet, and I'm gonna turn. And so now in this row is where I increase. Okay, now for this increase row, again, we have this double crochet here, which is the chain 2. I'm gonna go into that same stitch and complete a second double crochet to make it 2, so that my increase begins right away. And then I will go ahead and do 10 double crochets without any increases. So each of these 10 double crochets will go into 10 different stitches. Okay, and then in the 10th, or in the 11th, I should say, I will increase by putting 2 double crochets into that stitch. Okay, and I will alternate these all the way to the end, and whatever number of stitches that will be left at the end, you just kind of work it out like we worked in the last previous increase row. So I'm just gonna count here really quick. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then I will increase by doing 2 double crochets into this stitch right here. So 1 and 2. Okay, so again, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and alternate this. Again, just to show you one more, I'm gonna show you this increase row. So when you come to the end, just come back. So I'll show you again how to just work the workaround of those final stitches that you will have. Okay, so work until you have however many number of stitches here, or wherever you increase. So do your final increase on this side and then come back, and I'll show you how to work around the remaining stitches and then I will explain how to work your work to the level that you want to reach before we have the armholes separated, okay? So I'll see you guys when you have come towards the end of this row. Okay, my lovelies, so I have completed my second increase row, and as you can see, this is pretty much how our work is turning out so far, with 4 rows completed. And each of these 4, there's 2 that are increased rows and there's 2 that are non-increased rows. And again, as you can see here, I just did my last increase right here. So for these remaining 4 stitches, I am going to be doing just regular double crochets, okay? So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4, okay? So, and then I'll go ahead and slip stitch on top of this chain 2 right here. And then that completes the row, okay? Now I'm gonna start the next row. I'll do a chain of 2, turn, and then for this row, it's going to be a row of just regular double crochet. So there's no increasing in this row, okay? And so this is what you're gonna keep repeating. You're gonna do a row of just double crochet, and then the next row is gonna be a row of increases, and you can increase every 10 after every 10 stitches. And then you will do another row of non-increases, and then you will do a row of increases, and you just continue like that. Now, how far do you continue that? The first thing you're gonna do now while you're here, you're gonna take your tape measure and you're gonna measure how long you want your this to be. So this is gonna be the part that goes right on your waist, and then you're gonna determine, do you want it to be a crop top? Do you want it to be a long shirt so it goes past your belly button? Like, where do you want it to land? Where do you want this bottom part here to kind of end? And then you're gonna take the tape measure, you're gonna place it there, and you're gonna go all the way up to where it's right perpendicular to your armpit, okay? So, or the other way is take this, place this right underneath your armpit, and measure it down to where you want your top, how far you want your top to be. So for example, for me, if I take it down and I want to go to where I want my top to kind of end, it's gonna be around the 13 inches area right here. And that is if I want this to kind of just cover my belly button. So this part here would be just where my belly button is, then it's about 13 inches. So what I will do then is I will work this until I get to 13 inches. So I already have 7 inches. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more inches to go, which means I will work this section for 6 more inches, and then I will stop and I will come back. Now you can play with these measurements here. If you want your top to be longer, then you could go a little bit longer in terms of the work that you do, or if you want it shorter, then you can stop a lot more sooner. So it's all how you want your top to be, okay? So I'm probably gonna be around the 12 to 14 inches in terms of the length before I have my my armholes to be divided out. Okay, so I will go ahead and work that. I think it's also gonna depend on me, to be honest. It's gonna depend on the yarn. So as you guys can see, this is the ball of yarn I have. So I don't want to run out of yarn before I finish my top. So I will probably work this until I get to a point where I'm like, oh, I have just enough to do the front panel, the back panel, and after joining it for it to become an actual complete top. So I think it's gonna be more that would be the deciding factor for me. But because you guys probably have a lot more yarn than I'm willing to use or go buy another one, I will just work mine until it gets to where this takes me, while you can work yours to literally exactly where you want it to be. So whether it's a little bit of a longer, whether it's a crop, whether it's whatever it is, okay? So go ahead and keep working on this. When you have completed that and you are ready to divide your armpit holes, your armholes, then come back to the video and we will start that together, okay? See you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed a number of rows here that I think is gonna be enough for me. And I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I did 13 rows altogether. So I stopped here one because, as you can see, that's how much yarn I have left. I don't want to take the risk of it not being enough. I would rather some of it is left over than me working on the project and then realizing I ran out and have to frog the project just to fix to finish it with enough amount of yarn. Okay, so I have that much left. I think it is a lot, but I've decided to stop at 13 rows. And for the length altogether, and I said I was gonna try to aim for 12 to 14 stitches. So if I put it like this, let's put it like this so you can see the way I measure. So if I place these here, I have about 11. Okay, so I stopped at 11 just because, again, I just explained the problem with the yarn running out and things like that. So I think that's good enough. I'm gonna now going to work on the project, and as you can see, this is how much it flares out when you increase the way I had explained in the previous clips. Okay, so this is how far it kind of expanded out. For those of you who want to know that measurement as well, I'll just measure quickly for the sake of it. So if I put it right here and go straight to the opposite side, I have about 22 inches. Okay, so I get to exactly 22 inches across like that. So that's how wide across it is. This is going to be really slouchy as a top when we put it on, but that's kind of like the point of this top. Okay, now the other thing that I did while I was offline is I just counted how many stitches I have all around here, and it turned out I had 210 stitches. So what I did was I divided that by 2. I have 110 from here to where the work ended, and then I have the other 110 that comes all across to here. So I put a stitch marker here to mark my half of the side, because we're gonna work and pretty much work on one side like this for a couple of rows, and then we're going to switch up and then work on the other side. Okay, so with you having not done this part yet, count your stitches and then divide that in a half, and then just put a stitch marker on the opposite. So count and then put the stitch marker on the opposite. So as you can see, I have my pin over here. Okay, and if you end up having, let's say 210 is just an example, like an odd number, don't worry about it. Just put a stitch marker where you're gonna have one less stitches on one of the sides. So don't worry about that, because you're not gonna notice too much of a difference. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I have finished my 13 stitch here. I've slip stitch. So now I'm going to just start working from here, but we're going to work on one side first, and then we're gonna switch over to the other side, because now what we're doing is we're creating our armholes. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and kind of show you quickly how to begin that. Okay, so as you can see, I still have my working yarn right here. I have slip stitch in that stitch. So all I have to do here is just do my chain of 2 and turn, and then I'm just gonna work my double crochet stitches across. Okay, so nothing different, nothing too complicated here. I'm just gonna go ahead and work, no increases anymore, so you don't need to worry about increasing at this level. You're just going to work your stitches as normal, which is just double crochets until you get to the stitch marker. Okay, so nothing too complicated. So go ahead and do that, and when you reach maybe a stitch or 2 before the stitch marker, come back to the video and I'll show you how to finish that off and how to begin the following or the second row. And that second row will be your repeat row for this part of the project. Okay, so you should just kind of work your double crochets across to the stitch marker. See you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, I just went ahead and completed the row of double crochets. So the work is a little bit kind of flimsy over here, but as you can see, I just went from here, which is the start of this panel, to here, and I have this stitch to go into. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my double crochet in that stitch, and then I'm gonna go ahead and remove my stitch marker, and I'm gonna go ahead and do my last stitch, double crochet stitch into that stitch marker. Okay, so now this side is done, and then I'm gonna begin the next row by doing a chain of 2 and turning. Okay, and then so now I'm gonna just work double crochets again going on the other side. So I'm gonna go into the next stitch. So this stitch here lines up with the double crochet because it counts as a stitch. So the next stitch I go into is this stitch right here and complete a double crochet. Then I'm gonna go into the next stitch and do a double crochet, and then I pretty much just go across again doing double crochets. So what I will ask you guys to do is just work your double crochets all the way, and when you have a stitch, 3 stitches or 2 stitches left to go, come back to the video. I will show you how to finish those because there's something important that you need to know, and then I will have you guys work the rest of it. We will talk about how long you need this part of the project to be, how to do the measurements to get that size, what alternations you need to do to get to that, all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so go ahead and work until towards the end, and then come back and I will show you how to finish this row, and then how to kind of work on the next couple of steps. Okay, see you guys in a bit. Okay, my lovelies, so I have done my second row here on one of the sides, and as you can see I have a few stitches to go, so I came back to show you guys this. So as you can see, I have this stitch here, this stitch here, this stitch here, and don't forget the chain 2, which also counts as a stitch. So we'll go into this next one here and complete a double crochet, and then into the next, we're gonna do a double crochet, into the next right here, we're gonna do a double crochet that lines up with this stitch here, but we still have the chain 2. So on top of that chain 2, we're going to go on the top stitch and complete our final double crochet, just like that. Okay, that way it lines up nice and easy, and then we will do a chain of 2 and turn, and then we just repeat, and then we do this all the way to the end, and then we continue to do that until we have the size we want for this one panel. Now, how do you know what size you're gonna need to get to, or how many rows you need to do to get to the size that you want? What you're gonna do is do some measurements. Okay, so just like we did the measurements to decide how long we want this part of our work to be, you're going to get your tape measure, and you're going to measure from underneath your armpit. So just place this right, so you go into your armpit, move it all over across to your bust, and then measure from there all the way to the top of your shoulder. Okay, and then when you get to there, you decide how many inches that is. So meaning that we measured to get to here, which was the bottom of our armpit, and then from the bottom of our armpit to the top of our shoulder, how long is that? And then you're gonna incorporate some inches for looseness. You want it to be a little bit loose for your sleeve, or you want it to be tight, then you're gonna incorporate that. So for me, I'm gonna be working anywhere from 7 to 8 inches, and when I get to there, I'm gonna stop and come back to the video. Okay, so you're gonna do whatever your measurement is, come back to the video when you have that, and then we're gonna go ahead and do the other side. Okay, so I will go ahead and work on mine, and I will see you guys when we have completed that one side. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed one side of the top. So as you can see, this is where we worked on one side here. And I did about 14 rows altogether. I'm just gonna count really quick here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yes. So I had 14 rows that I completed, and I stopped because I have this much to go, you guys. So I would like to kind of end this side here. I think it will be enough for my to go through here. I'm gonna measure this really quickly to see how many inches I have from here to here. It may end up being a little bit tight for me, just because I don't have enough yarn to take me through. So I have about 7 inches. I think I was aiming for like 8. 7 inches I know for sure will fit. It's just a matter of how tight or loose it's gonna be. So I know this will fit for sure, but I think if I had gone to like 9, that would have been nice, but it's okay. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end these here. And what I will do is I will work on the other side. I'm aiming to get the 14, so cross my fingers, the 14 rows. If I don't, let's say I get like 12 rows, then I'll just remove 1 row on this side, transfer it to the other side to make it 13 and 13. or if I end up doing 10, I will remove 2 rows over here. So I'm just gonna work with it. But if I end up having my 14 rows with this, and there is enough yarn to do maybe 1 row on each side, I will go ahead and do that as well, okay? But I will show you how to just kind of end these here. I will just grab my scissors and I will cut it somewhere here because I want to be able to use this length here to join my work as well. So I'm just gonna cut it somewhere here, and that way if I end up just with this number of rows, by the way, you can do this with a hook and just kind of do a chain 1 and pull it through. Sometimes I just tend to do it with my fingers as well. You have this hole here, I just put it through and I grab it like this and I just pull it. It's just the same as if you were to do like chain 1 and then pull. Okay, so I do that and then I will go ahead and get started. So I will go ahead and get started right here and go this way, because if I was working on this and I would have continued to go like this. Wait, so which way do I do? So where did I start? I think I started over here and I went around like that. Yeah, I will continue right here. Okay, so I will go ahead and just kind of prepare my yarn here, and I will quickly show you how to just start it. I'm not going to show you guys how to do too many rows. I'll just do 1 row, and that way I can show you guys how to start and how to finish, and then I'll explain to you guys how to pretty much work it to the end. So here I'll start by doing a slip knot, and as you can see, I'm very stingy with the yarn, so I'm not leaving too much of the tail there because I don't need to. So you just do something like this, and now you have your loop right there, and I'm gonna go right into this stitch right here. So we already worked into that stitch there. I'm gonna go into this stitch right here, and I'm gonna bring that loop through just like this. Okay, and then while I hold this here so that I don't lose it, I'm gonna go ahead and do my chain 2 like that. Okay, and then I'm going to weave these in as I go. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do my double crochets, and I'm gonna make sure I do a double crochet on every stitch. So nothing too complicated. Every stitch I just go ahead and do my double crochet, and as you can see, I'm bringing this along with me so I can weave it through, or weave it in through the actual stitch itself, through the row. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and continue doing my double crochets. Okay, and I'll go and do this all the way to the end, and when I have maybe a stitch or 2 left, I will come back to the video so I can show you how to finish off this row and how to start the next row, and then I will have you guys work the number of rows that will correspond with the number of rows you did in the previous panel. So for me, it will be this side. I will be aiming to do the 14 rows, okay? But for now, let's meet at the end. Okay, my lovelies, I just did my first row on this side, and as you can see, I have just 1 stitch to go because this stitch here goes with this, as you can see here. So I just have this stitch here to go, so I'm gonna go ahead and work my final double crochet into that stitch, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a chain of 2 and turn, and then I'm gonna start working my double crochets until the other side, and then on the other side I will finish off, do a chain of 2, turn, start the next row, and then I'll just continue that until I have the number of rows that matches the other side. Now, like I said, it's gonna be dependent on how much yarn I have. If I get my 14 rows on this side, then I will obviously be happy, and I'll come back and show you guys what to do in the next step. But if I don't end up getting 14 rows, so let's say I get maybe 13 or 12 or 10, then I'm just gonna have to undo some rows on this side to kind of make up to this side. And then when I have it kind of just adjusted to be equal number of rows on each side, I will come back and show you guys what to do for the next part, okay? But for now, I'm gonna just try my best to see if I can get my 14 rows with whatever yarn I have left here. Okay, now remember, when you work your double crochets to this side, remember that your chain 2 is also a double crochet, so your final double crochet will go on the second chain from the bottom. So 1, 2. So here you need to do your final double crochet before you chain 2 and turn back around, just like I showed you in the previous clip when we were working on the other side. Okay, all right, so go ahead and do this other half, and then I'll see you guys when you have completed that. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and completed the second side. So this is the first side we did here to be able to section out our armholes. And you guys, I am so lucky. So I did 14 rows after we section out the armhole on the first side, and the second side I also have 14 rows. And this is how much yarn I have left. Okay, so I was so lucky to be able to get enough yarn to finish the project, because we're pretty much kind of finished. But yeah, so this is all I have left. I cannot do anything else with it, because if I do one row, it will just be for one side. That is probably how much it takes to finish one row. But then I will have 15 on one side and 14 on the other. Obviously, we don't want that. But anyway, so as you can see, I am finished here. This is my 14th row. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of finish this here, and then I will show you guys how to join the sides. And for some reason, I think it's just based on where I started, I have both sides ending here, so I'm not gonna leave a long string on this side because I already have this to join this side. I will just use an extra, the other side, I will use an extra yarn to join the other side. So here, I will take my scissors, I will just cut it somewhere here, like that. And then I will yarn over and go through and pull it so that we can lock that side in. Okay, so that is pretty much it. So as you guys can see, this part of the sweater is really wide, or the top is really wide, but it's the point because we want it to slouch over your shoulders when you have it on, and you want this part here to snatch nice and tight over your belly button area. And then you want this whole part of the top of your top here to be slouchy, kind of like not necessarily like a tight fit. Okay, all right, so with that done, I'm gonna put this away. I'm gonna need a little bit of that to probably join, but I will probably start on this side because I already have the string here. But now you need to section out your like your neckline. Okay, the way I do that is I just take my I just count my stitches inwards, and then whatever I think it's gonna be enough, I put a stitch marker, and then I do the same on the other side. I line it up, and then I count on both sides how many stitches, and I put the stitch marker. So I'm gonna do that offline so I can kind of figure out exactly how I want my neckline to be. We obviously want it to be wide because you want to be able to slouch it on each shoulder whenever you want it. So it's gonna be a wider neckline, but go ahead and do your counting, measure how wide. The one thing that I do often is I take my tape measure, I put it over my shoulder from shoulder to shoulder, and then I can decide that way how wide I want it. The widest I can ever get is 16 inches. It's very wide, but I don't think I want it that wide. I think I'm gonna want it to be around probably like 13, 14 type of thing. So it's probably gonna end up being more like that wide from here to here, as opposed to 16. 16 is when it's literally going like falling off my shoulder when I have it in the middle. When I position it in the middle, it kind of falls off if I have it at 16. But at 14, for example, if I have it at the middle, it kind of sits over my shoulders without kind of like falling off on its own. But anyways, figure out where you want, how you want your neckline, how wide you want it. And when you have that done, use your stitch markers to mark off where you want that. And then I'm gonna come back and I will show you how to then join the section that you want to join up here. Okay, see you guys in a minute. Okay, my lovelies, so I've gone ahead and sectioned out the neckline here. So as you can see, I put my stitch marker right here, and I have my second stitch marker here. So that is going to be my neckline right here that I'm comfortable with. So that means that I'm gonna join from here to here, and I'm gonna join from here to here. Okay, and that's pretty much the last part of the project. And because I have the string hanging on this side already, I'm just gonna use that to join this side, and then I'll get the yarn from the extra string that I have here, or the extra yarn I have here, to join the other side, because I was unable to leave the string hanging on the second side as well. So I'm just gonna thread my needle right here. Let me Make sure I can actually put that through like that. Okay. And then the point is you want to line up your work nice and straight. Okay. I have 30 stitches. So I counted out 30 stitches here on each side. And then I did the same on the other side. So on here, you want to make sure you go on the very first stitch here. And then you want to make sure you go on the very first stitch on the opposite side like this. We're going to leave this string here so we can yarn it, so we can weave it in later. Okay. And as you can see, if you just leave this like this, it actually comes apart, like you see. So what I normally do is I go into that same stitch more than once. I go, well, once, and then again. So the second time. And what this does is it makes it so that I kind of lock this section in like this. Okay. And then I'm going to go grab both loops for the second stitch like that. And I'm gonna go and pull it, but I don't pull it too tight. Okay, so make sure you're not pulling it too tight because it's gonna make your work look a little bit wonky. And then I just line up stitches and I make sure I line them up. I go through both loops on each side and I pull a little bit, and then I go and line it up for the next side, and I go through that, and then I just continue to do that until I get to the stitch marker. So the stitch marker is my very final stitch, or you could just do it so that the second last stitch before the stitch marker is your final stitch. However, a stitch is not going to make a difference. So however you prefer, you could just do it like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do this all the way to where the stitch marker is, and then I'll come back and show you guys how that looks before we move over to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, so you guys in a bit. And as you can see, this is pretty much when you join, this is how it looks like. Very nice and neat. Okay, see you guys when you have reached the stitch marker. Okay, my lovely, so I just kind of joined quickly here, and as you can see, I just went into this stitch right here, which is my second last stitch. So for the final stitch, I will just remove my pin, which is my stitch marker, and I'm gonna go into that final stitch, and I'm gonna pull through. And just like we did at the beginning here, you want this side to be solid and locked in. So I go into it one more time, just like we did at the beginning. But this time, as you can see, I just take my yarn like that. I wrap it around the tip of the needle, and then I pull that through. And this simulates a stitch, a slip stitch. Okay. And then that way, when I remove this, I can do this and it doesn't come off. Okay. So as you can see, this is pretty much the side that we have joined. This side is gonna be flipped so that it's the inside of my top, but for now we just leave it like this. I also leave this hanging here for the moment because if I need to fix this, either to increase my joining, I can just undo this and then join a couple of more stitches. Or if I need to undo some of this, the joining, I can just remove it and then kind of undo that. Okay, so we leave it like that. So what I will do then is I will join this side as well. So I'll just take a little bit of yarn from what we had left here. Excuse me. I'm recovering from a cold, so I apologize for the coughing there. But I'm going to just take my darning needle again, and I'm going to put this through like this. If I can get that through. This is always my struggle. My struggle veil is always threading my needle, but I do it like that, and then I will just cut it somewhere here like that. I think that's enough. Whatever I have here is enough to be able to join my work from here to here. Okay, and then I just kind of do that, and then I go into the beginning just like we did on the other side, but except this side we have a hanging yarn. I will go into that very first stitch. This stitch on this side happened to be the chain 2 that we did to begin the row. So I'll go on top of the chain 2, just like that. And then it's the same thing on this side is the chain 2. So I'll just go on top of that chain 2 like this. As you can see, I'm not going into this stitch and I'm not going into this stitch because we have to go into the top of the chain 2 to join, which is our first stitch. Okay. And then here I will knot this like this to close off, or to knot to secure this area so that it doesn't come off. we didn't have to do it on the other side because the yarn was already attached to the project because of where we finished off. Now that I have that, I don't have to do the twice on the stitch there because I just knotted it, so it kind of secures it by default. And then so I go into the second stitch just like this, and I go through. Okay, like that. And in that stitch is where I go twice. That second part is where I will go twice to make sure like it goes across the top, because we want this going across the top like this. Okay, and then I will go into the next stitch after that, and then I will pull that like that, and then I'll go into the next stitch, which is this stitch, join it around, or across I should say, and then go into the next stitch. Anyways, you get the point. So you do this all the way to the stitch marker right here. Okay, and just finish it off how we did the other side. Now when you get to the stitch marker and you have finished that off, do the same thing, loop, do your yarn around the tip of the thing, pull it, and then the next thing you're gonna do is, before you weave it any edges, try these on. Just put it on and then make sure the neckline is what you want. If it is too big, go back and undo and then join a few more stitches on each side. If it's too narrow, go back, undo, remove a couple of stitches. That's all you have to do. Okay, so it may not end up being the 30 stitches that you have already, or the 25 or the 20, whatever, however many stitches you needed to count out to make the neckline, or to, whatever, you know what I mean. So go ahead and do that. When you have your neckline exactly where you want it to be, then go ahead and weave in your ends. Go ahead and weave in these little hanging ends. Go ahead and fix it, any imperfections in terms of any yarn that is just kind of loose and hanging around for no reason. Make sure you weave that in, or cut it, knot it, and cut it off, and then come back to the video and we will wrap it up together because it will be finished. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and by the time we come back to the video, we will be coming to literally say thank you and goodbye. Okay, so I'll see you guys then. Okay, my lovelies, so I have gone ahead and pretty much joined both sides. As you can see, this is one of the sides here, and then this is the other side, so everything is nicely joined. So I have decided, obviously, I'm gonna leave the sleeves like this. I think the sleeves are just perfect the way they are. I don't have to do anything to kind of fix them up and things like that. Sometimes just something looking a little bit raggedy, maybe the look that it comes out to look a little bit more fashionable and more crafty and things like that. So sometimes I don't mind having the edges of my sleeves just looking like that. Okay, so because as you can see, this is the side that is nice and neat, which is where the stitches are, but because here is not necessarily the side that is stitches, it makes a little bit of a bumpy edge of your sleeve. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. Okay, so I think I like that. And as you can see, the neckline is right here. I have flipped it to the side that is the right side. Okay, so everything I've weaved in my ends and everything just looks nice and perfect. So this is pretty much the project, you guys. When you have these on, as you have seen in the pictures, it just slouches off. It looks nice. This section here is nice and tight over your belly button area, and then as it goes up, it kind of flares out, and then it kind of falls over your shoulders nice and beautifully. Okay, so this is a nice summer top that you can wear in the summer. Again, I do a lot of my projects because it's for tutorial. Make sure if you're gonna do anything that is wearable, especially for the summer, make sure you're getting the right wool, whether it's cotton or whatever it is, that is not gonna be boiling and cooking you in the summer. Okay, so but I have to do what I have to do in terms of buying yarn that I like to do tutorials with. So majority of the time I wear these things, but I wear them more in the winter, not necessarily in the summer. And if I wear anything in the summer, it's made with the proper yarn or wool that is meant for summer clothing. Okay, anyways, but this is the end of the project here. Let me know in the comments below if you like, if you didn't like, why did you like it, why did you not like it, and what suggestions you have to fix anything you think I need to fix in the future. Okay, we're all here to learn. I'm here to learn along with you guys, and so any positive criticism will go a long way and will help me to improve my craft as well. But as you can see, my work is mostly geared for beginners, so I do very simple stitches for beginners. I don't go too much into intricate stitches and things like that, but I try to use simple stitches to make intricate looking projects. Okay, so yeah, this is it here. So please don't forget to comment, like, share, and give a thumbs up to this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.